there. I'm Rachel Oseland with the Austin Post.
And I'm Gavin Stone with Fanboy TV, and we are here with the crew from This Is Where We Live.
You got it.
A depressing movie.
It is actually a little sad. Let's tell the audience really briefly what this movie is about.
This Is Where We Live is it's a story about a family that lives in the hill country of Texas. They're sort of down on their luck. The mom's got health problems, the father's got Alzheimer's, and their son has cerebral palsy to a level that he needs a lot of care.
Great sitcom, right?
And so in order to sort of help them along their way, they reach out to the stranger, this handyman who comes in to start caretaking for their son. And what happens is that this caretaker sort of stirs up the household, for better or for worse, and that's sort of the arc of the story.
So this is a really kind of sad and very emotional story. Where did it come from? Like, what was the inspiration? Hey, I'm going to write this movie.
The inspiration for it was I have a good friend that has cerebral palsy, and the character of August was inspired by him, by my friend Thomas, and then when I found the house that we were going to shoot in, that kind of gave me the world that this family lived in. So
the economic world.
Yeah.
So it was. And I guess I've always been interested in Alzheimer's and
Another cheerful topic.
Another cheerful topic, and then I like this an acting coach here in Austin. Actually, her name's C.K. McFarland, played the mother, and she is just such a character on her own that I kind of wrote the part with her in mind. So,
you guys had actually one of your first screenings earlier today, right?
We did.
How did that go?
We were very, very happy with it. And right before we flipped on to air here, we were talking about how, despite the fact that we do have very heavy subject matter, we didn't want to approach it in a way that was violence playing, and we didn't want to make light of it. We wanted to sort of, play that line between. And there's a lot of humor in it, and the humor is sort of subtle, but having it on the big screen with a big audience, we heard a lot of those chuckles, and we heard a lot of the laughter, and that was very heartwarming to us, that we knew that people were willing to go to those edges with the characters, as well as sort of the darker things that happen.
Which that brings up an interesting point, because you found a way to bring to light the trials and tribulations of living with a family like this, with a kid with special needs, and how it could be stressful. And people always think, oh, it's all happy, good, oh, we can do it, anybody can do it. But it's hard to do sometimes. Yeah. How did you find that nice balance so that it wasn't too depressing, but it also wasn't? I mean, it was very real. I liked it.
I don't know. I think the one thing that we really wanted to stay true to was that this family, it is their life, and when you're in that situation, you don't go about every day thinking my life is so hard and this is so difficult. Like they just go about life with their circumstances, and they are a happy family.
But at the same time, you didn't sugarcoat disability. I feel like in so many things that you see these days, if you've got a disabled character, or heaven forbid one with Alzheimer's, they're either the plucky sidekick or the moment to teach you an important lesson or something along those lines. And they're not really presented as fully being human.
I think there's a name for the archetype, which is sort of like the guardian angel disabled person.
Yeah.
And we definitely, right off the bat, didn't want that. I mean, that August is a character that has flaws, has upsides, has downsides like anybody else. Yeah. And that was really important to us. And Tobias, who played that part, he really took that to heart. And the character doesn't have the ability to verbalize. He doesn't have speech, but he's able to communicate quite a big deal.
Yeah.
And Tobias had quite a large palette for subtlety and expression.
I think that the only person people are familiar with along those lines these days is usually Stephen Hawking, and he's able to communicate an amazing amount with one muscle in his cheek.
Right.
And so being able to get across, like, these are people with actual lives, not just objects, was very nicely done.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And so your cast, when you talked about Tobias, wow. Like, I would not have guessed that he was acting the whole time. I thought you found a real person to fill that role in. I was like, how do they do this? I was like watching going, that's interesting. So did he have a hard time approaching that role?
Tobias, right before we started shooting, I brought him into Austin early, and he spent like 4 days with my good friend that has cerebral palsy. And something happened to me like on the first day that I kind of took me out of the loop of being with them, which I think in the end was good, because they just hung out and like Thomas
know each
opened
other.
opened up his world to him, and they just spent time together, and it was purely like Tobias getting to know like what that is like, and he did it in a very short amount of time. If you think about it,
it came across really well on screen. It was just a great performance, and the rest of the cast, they're very strong roles, and they're almost filled perfectly. Did that just happen, or did you guys search for a long time for these people before you found the right person, or was it just one of those things where everything came together at once and it was just a miracle?
There was a mixture of those, but I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, like I said, the mother I had in mind while I was writing, and she was an old acting teacher of mine, C.K. McFarland, and then the dad was an old acting teacher of mine here in Austin as well, and I called him up when I was writing, and I was like, I want you to do this, and he was like, yeah, whatever, like whatever you want to do, and then Tobias, he came about because he and I had worked on a film together before, like a few months before, and I was actually looking for somebody with cerebral palsy to play the part, and it just didn't work out. We had a disability consultant on the film, and she was kind of like the one who was running People Bias, and when she met Tobias, she loved him, and so that was like I finally I knew Tobias was great, and I just kind of offered it to him, and he did it. And the rest, I'm sure you want to talk about the Cowboys.
I don't know if I want to give away those secrets though.
But the
Now
other
you're gonna have to tell us about Cowboys.
we used several people here in Austin that I had known from when I lived here years ago, and
There's some known actors as well that we thought did a very good job in some smaller roles.
Yeah,
as well.
and the character of Lainey, she is played by Frankie Shaw, and she lives in L.A. And I literally met her cousin through a friend of mine, and she said, "Oh, my cousin's an actress. Her name's Frankie Shaw." And I looked her up, and I was like, "She looks like what I'm looking for." And then I went out to L.A. and we sat down and had lunch and talked about it, and she was the one that I ended up deciding on.
So you live in New York now. You used to live in Austin. What made you decide to go ahead and set this in Texas?
I think number one, it's familiar to me, and number two, I knew that we could get great locations down here that we weren't going to have to pay an arm and a leg for.
Well, you do have great locations in Texas. I mean, you can get desert, forest, mountains, whatever you want. It's all here. I think that's one of the interesting things about filming in Texas is it's just so big. And like you said, you guys got a good deal on it. Would you have been able to pull this off in any other state?
We called in a lot of favors, I think, throughout the process of doing this, and we may not owe that many favors in other states, but Texas has been a great place to shoot, other than the fact that it's, like you said, very diverse and quite beautiful, is that the people here are friendly. And there are times we had to change a location at a last minute and would walk into an establishment and they're, "Can we film here?" "Yeah, of course." In New York, they would say, "Well, we need $5,000.
Yeah.
But these people just let us right in, and we're just happy to have us. And that sort of warmth that we got, especially in Llano, was very helpful.
So can you tell us about any future upcoming projects you have?
I can tell you very briefly.
That's good. That fits in with the format of the interview.
Very, very briefly, I'm writing something on a fundamentalist group.
Okay.
That takes place in Texas, and I'm in the process of working out hopefully an incredible location to shoot. There's some red tape to step across, but we can get that done.
So what are your other screenings so people can go watch this film?
We are on again on Monday at 8:30, and that is at the Violet Crown, and then again on Friday at 9:30, and that's at the Alamo Ritz 2.
I love the Alamo Draft House.
It was it's a neat place.
Yeah.
That's
It's one of the greatest
It was
places.
great.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for coming out. I hope you have a wonderful time at South by Southwest and meeting lots of people, and I hope your red tape clears soon enough so we can see more.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.